Amate paintings are a traditional form of Mexican folk art. They're created by the indigenous Atami and Nahua peoples of Mexico. The word amate comes from the language spoken by the Aztecs, and it means paper or bark paper. Amate paintings are made using bark paper as the canvas. The bark of the fig tree, called ficus, is primarily used. Artists use natural pigments and dyes to paint on this bark paper. Those pigments are made from plants, minerals, and other natural sources. Amate painting has a rich history that dates back to pre-Columbian times before the arrival of Europeans in the Americas. It's used traditionally for rituals, ceremonies, and a form of communication telling stories and recording history. They often feature vibrant, bright colors and intricate designs. Common motifs include animals, plants, geometric patterns, and scenes from everyday life or traditional stories and myths. The process of making amate paper involves stripping the bark from the fig tree, pounding and flattening it, and then drying it in the sun. Once the bark is prepared, artists paint on it using brushes made from animal hair or plant fibers and the natural pigments they've prepared. I hope that you have a ton of fun creating your own amate painting. Let's take a moment and get started. As you can see, the first thing we're going to do is tear the edges of the paper so that it's not such a sharp, straight edge, but instead gives us more of an idea of texture, the way bark might give us texture. You know, you think about bark and the side of a tree and how it's very rough and not very smooth. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do on the edges of my paper. The other thing you might notice is when I'm tearing my paper, one hand is holding it so that it doesn't go too far into the paper. I throw away only minimal amounts of the brown paper. I'm only tearing off the edges. Take your time on this so that you have a nice piece that's ready to begin. You'll grab an idea sheet right beside you, and I don't care if you start with the border first or if you start with your images first. But what I would do is start off with my pencil and start figuring out what I want to create with my project. Feel free to use some of these ideas that are on the idea sheet or combine them with a couple other images from either side of your paper and decide how you want to create your bark painting. On the outside edge, also please include a border. You will notice one side has a lot of different ideas of different foliage and border ideas, and one side has a lot of different shapes. Once I'm done with my pencil work, I'm going to go ahead and get some fluorescent paints and begin painting over my images. You will notice that fluorescent paint will show through. You will be able to see your pencil lines. And the nice thing about that is then I'll be able to outline with black a little bit easier. The other thing that you might notice when you're putting on your paints is that it looks pretty thin because you can see through it, but as it dries, it will get brighter. Now we'll take some oil pastels and go over some of our designs. You will notice that as it's dry, the colors do become a lot more bold and vibrant, and I can use my black oil pastel then to make all of my pencil lines really stand out. It'll make the designs show up that I created in pencil and create a nice defined lines that I wanted everyone to be able to see. So you can see that I've got a really cool border that I'm drawing little designs on top of my blue paint and created a nice zigzag line. And now I am going to take my oil pastels and also start defining the images that are on the inside. Wow, this is really already starting to make the images stand out brighter, much more easier to see. The colors almost feel more vibrant by outlining in black. If you want to use colored oil pastels into this project as well, you may do so. All of the detail that you drew in pencil really stands out nicely once you go over it in black. I love the way this looks. Wow. I really think this turned out great, and I hope you really had a good time creating your own Amate bark painting. Happy art making.